Now, Hamas has confirmed that it has submitted its response to the Israeli proposal for a 60-day ceasefire to the negotiators. In a statement, the Palestinian faction has said that it has just submitted its response and that of the Palestinian factions to the ceasefire proposal to the mediators. The office of the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has confirmed that it had received the response and is currently evaluating it. On the other hand, the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has said that the U.S. West Asia envoy Steve Witkoff is traveling to Europe for meetings with key regional leaders aimed at advancing a ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip and securing the release of hostages held by Hamas. Now, according to Axios, Steve Witkoff is expected to arrive in Rome today for meetings with the Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer and a senior Qatari official. And if talks were to progress, then he could travel on to Doha later in the week in a push to finalize a deal.
Special Envoy Witkoff is headed to Europe, where he will meet with key leaders from the Middle East to discuss the ongoing ceasefire proposal to end this conflict in Gaza and to release the hostages. These are very sensitive negotiations that are currently taking place.
So with no let-up in the deadly Israeli attacks across the territory, getting humanitarian aid for the more than 2 million Palestinians who need it has become a very key part of this conflict, and doctors and aid agencies have reported increasing cases of starvation and malnutrition. The humanitarian organizations have said in a joint statement that warehouses with tons of supplies and food is sitting untouched, while the Palestinians, trapped in a cycle of hope and heartbreak, are waiting for this assistance and for a ceasefire. Now, the 111 signatories includes Doctors Without Borders, Save the Children and Oxfam, and they've called for an immediate negotiated ceasefire and the opening of the all-land crossings and for the free flow of aid through UN-led mechanisms. Meanwhile, Israel has hit back at the growing international criticism that it is behind the chronic food shortages and the starvation of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. It is now accusing Hamas of deliberately creating a humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian territory. Now, furthermore, the Israeli President Isaac Herzog, visiting troops in the Gaza Strip, maintained that Israel was acting according to international law and was trying to sabotage aid distributions in a bid to obstruct the Israeli military campaign that began well over 21 months ago.
We are acting here according to international law. We are providing humanitarian aid according to international law. The ones trying to sabotage this aid are Hamas and its people. It's Hamas' spin at our expense to prevent our forces from dismantling infrastructure that could harm us and our citizens.
Meanwhile, addressing an open debate in the United Nations Security Council, India's United Nations Ambassador Parvatneni Harish urged for a full ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, stressing that brief pauses are not going to resolve the severe humanitarian catastrophe.
The way ahead is clear, and India has been consistent in this regard. The ongoing human suffering must not be allowed to continue. Humanitarian assistance needs to be facilitated in a safe, sustained and timely manner. There is no substitute to peace. A ceasefire must be put in place. All hostages must be released. Dialogue and diplomacy remain the only viable paths to achieving these objectives. There are no other fixes or solutions.
Witkoff is expected to begin with a meeting with an Israeli delegation in Rome. Depending on how those talks go, he will then decide whether to continue on to Qatar in hopes of wrapping up a deal that could halt this 21-month conflict. Now, this diplomatic activity comes as conditions on the ground in Gaza continue to deteriorate. The Israeli military is still active. It says it is attacking Hamas targets across Gaza, but this crackdown has contributed to an ongoing humanitarian crisis.